If you're pouring your heart into your podcast, but still struggling to turn those listeners into paying clients, I've got something just for you. Imagine having a clear, simple plan to turn your listeners into buyers without relying on a huge audience or spending hours on social media. That's exactly what we'll create together in a podcast profit plan discovery call. During this free 20-minute call, I'll help you discover more opportunities for profit in your podcast and give you the next best step to turn your show into a client attracting machine. If I've got an offer that will help you expedite this process, then we can also discuss working together. Book your free podcast profit plan discovery call now by going to podcastingformoms.co/profit plan or by clicking the link in the show notes. I can't wait to chat with you. Welcome to Podcasting for Moms, the show for moms in business ready to start, grow, and scale a podcast that turns their listeners into buyers. I'm Jenny Soneson, a podcast strategist and fellow mom entrepreneur. You're in the right place if you want to learn how to start and grow a podcast that attracts your ideal clients and really does the heavy lifting for you when it comes to selling your offers, all while balancing life as a busy mom. Are you ready to create a podcast that grows your income, impact, and influence? Let's make podcasting work for you because as moms, we know how to get things done. All right, let's jump into the episode. All right. Hi there. Welcome, Lori. I am super excited to have you here for this live podcast audit. So I'd love for you to first start by telling us a bit about your podcast, On a Mission Momentum, and basically what inspired you to start your show.
I have kind of a strange story because last year I had another podcast on a mission, Mojo, and I interviewed a lot of business owners that were on a mission to make a positive difference in the world.
Okay.
And I got burnt out because I was doing it all myself. And so this year, what I did differently is started a new podcast that probably features me like more than anything. And it honestly started as a kind of like a desire to put my weekly deep dive newsletter and blog into audio format. Because I know that, one, my readers are busy.
Right.
And we don't always have time to go and read like a long blog, but sometimes we can actually like listen when we're doing something. So that was the goal. It was literally just to put my deep dive blog into podcast format so that my readers could listen.
Okay.
Basically, and On a Mission Momentum is geared for coaches and people in the transformation business, personal transformation business. And it's all centered around offers.
Okay.
How do we craft aligned offers? How do we market aligned offers? How do we sell them? So, like I said, most of my episodes are solo, but every once in a while, I will bring a guest on that can extend the conversation about offers in a way that I don't cover myself. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
There's
that's
nothing wrong with a
it.
primarily solo podcast. I actually think it's better in the long run because when you're selling your own products and services, it's better for you to be featured as the expert versus your guests, because then you're just basically propping them up and then just kind of like,
Exactly,
fading
which
into
is
the
why I
background.
switched. Yeah, because I honestly found through my first podcast that 90% of the guests never shared the episode. So,
Which is unfortunate. Yeah. I've seen that with people. I've seen people who have, good results with that. And I feel like usually when people have good results with people sharing is because most of their people are also podcasters and understand all the work that goes into it.
yes,
Whereas like people who are not podcasters, they don't understand that, yeah, cool, we took an hour to record or 45 minutes or whatever, but that's not the end of it on the host's end.
exactly. It's hours preparing
Exactly.
everything.
Exactly. So, yeah. So, are you currently like using your podcast to support your offers, or is it just more of like a passion project right now? Or obviously, I feel like you probably want it to support your offers, but is it currently doing that? Do you feel?
I don't know if it's supporting my offers. Is that the goal? Absolutely. At the end of my podcast description, I have something about my offers. And for me, it's about sharing my expertise around offers and just creating a more intimate experience with my listeners. And it's also to just have another visibility platform where my work is out in the world. So,
Right.
social media can get lost,
Yeah.
I have blogging, like I have it like all,
Mhm.
but it's
It's
just,
always
I
good
don't
to
think,
have your, like, core place that you hang out aside from social media that you actually, like, own.
yes.
Whether that's a podcast or a YouTube or a blog. I feel like a lot of the time podcasters do the podcast and the blog. So that kind of kills two birds with one stone.
Yeah, that's
But
what I do. So I would say I've been blogging for, oh my gosh, like 8 years
yeah,
probably. And so that's probably my primary long form content. But I thought, why not
yeah, yeah.
turn that into an audio version?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, and it allows you to kind of meet the people where they're at. If they like to read, great. If they are more auditory people or they have
Mhm.
more time for audio, that's a good way to give them that because, sometimes
Right.
people just don't have the capacity to sit down and read.
Yeah.
I know I don't always, so.
Right.
Okay, cool. So that's really helpful. So let's pretend that you could wave a magic wand and completely revamp your podcast over the next 90 days. What would your dream outcome be from that? And what would feel like a total win for you in a 90-day period?
Oh, geez. Probably a number one would be like getting more listenership for
Okay.
sure.
So growth. Yeah.
Yeah, growing the podcast numbers. I would say, another thing would be learning how to, like, I don't know, I guess learning how to, like, do the SEO
Mm,
properly so
hmm
that my podcast actually shows up. I have no idea if my podcast is SEO friendly. Like I said, it's a very light touch podcast. I told myself when I was going to do this, I am not getting involved in, like, editing, and, like, I don't even, like, I'm, like, reading my podcast intro. That's, like, how simple it is. It's like if I have to go through all this editing process, like, I know I'm gonna scream. So for me, it's just listenership. I would love to get leads and or people into my community, into my
Yep.
email community where I can, talk more intimately with them.
Yep.
But even if they just listen and they come to my website because they're curious, if it brings in traffic to my website, then that's
That's a
a huge
win.
win for me as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So like you said, audience growth seems to be kind of your biggest struggle.
Yes.
And you're definitely not alone in that. It's
Mhm.
definitely one of the top things that people do. Like,
Mhm.
feel like they're missing out when they start. They're like, cool, I'm 12, 15, 20 episodes in. Like, where's my audience?
Yes.
So yeah. Okay. So what are you currently doing in terms of like promotion? I know you said SEO is something you want to learn, which is great. That's something that I think could be easily optimized because on a mission momentum is not really searchable. Like it's a cool title, but no one is really looking that up, right? But in terms of like external stuff, do you promote it on social media or email or through any types of collaborations, or what are you doing as far as
Yeah.
like external
So
promotion?
it definitely gets promoted through my email list.
Okay.
It gets promoted on LinkedIn through my weekly newsletter that's on LinkedIn. It's
Okay.
always a link in there. I recently started posting on Substack. And so the audio file is in the Substack weekly newsletter that I send out.
Mhm.
What else? Oh, it's on my blog. Like
Mhm.
if you go to the blog, there is the embedded audio for the podcast is in the blog.
Okay.
And if I have a guest, I share like just a single video clip with the guest and I ask them to share the episode with their audience.
Mhm.
Again, I most of my episodes are solo.
Yep.
So yeah, I
It's
would
not
say
like
that's
super common.
primarily the way that I promote
Okay.
it.
I mean, that's better than a lot of people. So I feel like your external promotion strategy is pretty solid. I would say we can dive definitely into the podcast SEO. And another thing that I always think is a really great recommendation for people to get more listeners is to be a guest on other podcasts. I'm not sure if you've tried that or if it's kind of on your list, but that's another good thing too, because when people are already in that podcast app, they're more likely to stay in that podcast app and go follow your show versus like saying, oh, hey, go check me out on LinkedIn or whatever. Like that's telling them to go to another platform. Are they going to do it?
Right.
Not as likely as typing it into the app they're already in or whatever, or
Yeah.
clicking the
And
link.
that's something that's on my list
Mhm.
of things to do, but it's like I'm wearing so many hats that I
Yeah,
don't,
yeah, I understand.
it gets delayed, delayed, delayed.
Mhm.
I have done a lot of virtual speaking events lately,
Yes.
but they're more like summits
Yeah.
and speaking
Okay.
to
I
groups.
mean,
And I'm
that's,
not really like, I don't know why I don't think about it, but I just don't always talk about my podcast. Like for
yeah.
me, I'm more concerned with giving them access to, my free lead
Offer.
magnet and,
Mhm.
getting them on my email list
Yeah.
than I
Which is
am.
just totally fine.
'Cause I know once they're on my email list,
You can
they
see who
they
they
can
are and yeah, yeah, you
and
can
they
talk to
can
them.
listen to the podcast. They're gonna
Mhm.
get access to the podcast. So
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's totally fine. Sometimes I'll like at the end of my summit presentation, I'll obviously point to the freebie first, but I'll also say like, and if you want more of that, if you like this and you want more of that, like more similar things like that, then go to the podcast. And it's just like, the main thing is the freebie, but you're still like bringing it out into the,
and
so people know
and
it
that's
exists.
honestly a good idea because not everyone wants to sign up for things.
Yeah.
Their email,
And
like they
then, if you're doing things right on your podcast, then they're finding a way to join your email list once they're listening to your episodes. So you can kind of funnel them into that
right,
way. So yeah, so that's helpful to know. Okay, so in terms of like SEO, that is something you can literally do right now. I mean, please don't do it right now because we're on this, but after we get off or in the
right,
next couple days. So looking at your show, so you have you know, on a mission momentum, and then you have podcasts for coaches and transformation experts. So the coaches and transformation experts, that is SEO friendly, but it's reading very jumbly on the screen. So one thing that you can
right.
do is put like a little hyphen or like a vertical bar or even a
Okay,
colon to separate that. So on a mission momentum, and then podcast for coaches. I would take out the word podcast, honestly, because when people are typing in podcast, it's just going to bring up a bunch of random crap. Like,
okay,
I would just do on a mission momentum, take out the word podcast. I would say like practical advice or tips, or take out the word podcast and like something tips. So, like, what kind of tips are you sharing? Right? Because you have the who, but you don't have the what. So, what kind of tips, what kind of advice, what kind of whatever are you sharing with them? And make sure that's keyword friendly or keyword rich rather, because coaches and transformation experts, I don't know if people are searching transformation experts. Maybe you could
right,
find something that's a little more searchable than that, but coaches is definitely something someone's searching.
right.
Do you have a certain kind of coach maybe that you could target, or is it just coaches?
Well, I work with a lot of different coaches, like coaches, healers, therapists, pretty much like anyone who is in the business of personal growth
Wellness,
and
maybe
transformation.
wellness.
Wellness too.
I would add wellness, personal development, stuff like that.
Okay.
Those are words that are searchable. So you would want to reconfigure that you could do like wellness coaches, add personal development somewhere in there. Those are all searchable things
Like
that would,
part of the title?
yes. So what people are going to see is the main thing is on a mission momentum. And it's called a title extension. And that's where you
Okay.
add the keywords. I'm not sure what host you're using, but
Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout. Okay. Yeah. You have like lots of characters in there. So if you just add that little colon or little vertical slash thing, kind of transform that, get rid of the word podcast, do like practical advice, practical tips, or whatever kind of tips. Or like, for example, mine says simple business strategies for mom entrepreneurs. Mom
Okay.
entrepreneurs is a keyword, business strategies is a keyword. So maybe business strategies or whatever kind of strategies, whatever kind of advice. So put a word in front of advice or
Okay.
strategies or tips. And then
Okay.
coaches is fine. I would add maybe wellness coaches,
Mhm.
and then personal development would be a good one. Yeah, because transformation experts, people probably aren't searching that because they may
Right.
not even know that's something
Right.
they should be
True.
told.
That's
So I would kind of
great.
dumb it down a little bit in that way. Same thing with your podcast show description. It
Okay.
looks pretty good, but you can totally expand on that and add more keywords in there. I see you have mindset shifts, marketing strategy, soulful sales tools, things like that, dream clients, grow a business. Those are all keywords, but you can expand on that even further. I would put like on this podcast, we dive into questions like, and then use some kind of keyword research tool. I like to use keywords everywhere. It's like a Chrome extension. It's pretty cheap. I want probably like less than $12 a year. And basically you can type in different keywords and kind of see what people are searching for. So we
Okay.
answer questions like, what do you do when, I don't know, I can't think of anything right now, but it would just be common questions that people are actually Googling, because
Mhm.
then the opportunity for your show to appear when people are Googling is going to be higher. Or when people are typing, how do I do XYZ? Some people type stuff like that in the podcast search engines. So then
Right.
your show is more likely to come up. Same within your like episode titles. I see your most recent episode, it says, is your offer not selling? Maybe someone's typing in, why is my offer not selling? Then your show is more likely to come up. So things like that. Your
Mhm.
titles look pretty good, honestly. I would just make those tweaks to your name and then also your name. So Lori Young, you can put a little colon or one of those little vertical dash things and add like offer strategist or, offer strategist for,
In the name of the podcast
here,
or where?
I'll share my screen really quick.
Okay.
Not that anyone listening is going to see it, but for your sake. So where it says your name right here, right here.
Yes.
Yeah. So you would just add like a little dash or
Okay.
something and put like offer strategist for wellness coaches or or wellness coaches, personal development experts, yada, 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 whatever. You can, Buzzsprout
Well,
doesn't
you
really
can
have a
just keep
character.
like
Yeah.
expanding.
Yeah. You don't want to put like 70 keywords, but like maybe 2, 3, 4, so that so that you're targeting those things, and then add onto this too up here
Right.
as well. And then this is where you would put the questions, like common questions people are wanting answered around what you teach and your
Okay.
offers. And yeah, those are the 3 places that I would optimize for search engines. And then obviously within your episodes, like episode title, searchable. Right now, this isn't really searchable. So each episode's description isn't really searchable, but doesn't mean it won't be in the future. So I would optimize it. And also yours look good. Like it's pretty clear and easy to read. So, I mean, just make sure you're
I'm
including some keywords in here.
noticing that when I'm looking at this, like none of these like links
That's how
seem
it's on.
active.
Unfortunately, that's how it is on desktop for Apple Podcasts. They are going to work on the
Mobile
what's it
app.
called? The mobile app. Yeah, they'll like be highlighted purple in the mobile app, but
Hmm.
unfortunately on desktop, this is how Apple Podcast is, which is annoying.
Interesting.
That's why I link them like this, because so this is a good way to link them, because you see down here, because
Mm,
people can copy and paste that. Whereas like this, you probably have this hyperlinked, right? But no
Yep.
one can grab it. So
Yep.
this looks ugly, but it's like people can easily copy and paste that if they're on desktop,
Okay. All right.
and it will still be hyperlinked in the actual app. So
Okay.
that's just a note there. But I would optimize this still, even though right now it's not currently searchable. Your titles are, but this part isn't. But I would still optimize it in the event that later on down the line, which they probably will change.
Mhm.
And then you don't have to be like, oh my God, I have to go through, hundreds of episodes and re-optimize them or whatever. So those
Right.
are
Right.
just some quick, simple things that you can do to kind of see an increase and an influx within, the next 30 or so days. And that's easy. It's not like you have to pitch to other podcasts for that to work, which obviously I do recommend kind of focusing on getting on more podcasts. I would say just like 1 to 2 a month would be a pretty doable goal.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like worth it? Would it be helpful or hurtful to change the name of the podcast?
You can. Do you have a kind of a reason why? Do you
Well,
feel like,
something that you just said to me that nobody's searching for on a mission momentum,
yeah. So
and I get that.
that's kind of why I usually recommend people adding a title extension, because then it can work in that way and you don't have to go through, oh my God, I
Okay.
gotta change everything. I have one podcast, so I have 2 podcasts, but one of my podcasts is called Moms Make Money. Not the most searchable. I guess moms is searchable, money searchable, but
Mhm.
as a whole, no. But that's why that one has the title extension. And then my other one's called Podcasting for Moms. So yes, that's way more searchable.
Right.
But then I still have a title extension. So honestly, it really depends. But if like I don't feel like you need to change your title, just adding the
Okay.
title extension. And then, like if you feel like later down the line, like, okay, this isn't really working, I really do want to change everything, then you can go that way. But I would say just,
Try
for
these
now,
other things first.
see how it works. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's going to be really helpful for you. And just keep doing what you're doing on LinkedIn, your email, all that stuff. Like keep up with that. Obviously, don't get rid of that. But I think, adding in this SEO and focusing on that. And then also, you know, adding, if you have time to get on some other podcasts, I think that would be a great way to kind of grow without relying on social media. Because social media is like a hit or miss when it comes
Yeah.
to podcasts. It's like, people might see the clip and they're like, oh, this is really cool. But like, they don't always go and see the
Right.
podcast because they're really honed in on Instagram and they're just going to keep being on Instagram or keep
Right.
being on LinkedIn. They're not ready to go to
Right.
another channel. So,
Right.
so yeah, I hope that was helpful for you.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's
excited
it.
to
Any amount of tips are helpful.
yeah, when you implement those changes, I'd love to see what you end up doing and see if I can kind of give you a little bit more, look at it and see if we
Okay.
can refine it even further when you come up with the questions for your description and
Okay.
adding kind of a title extension to your name and also your, the
Right.
name field as well,
Yep.
the
Perfect.
podcast name too. So yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today. I
Of
know other
course.
moms listening are definitely nodding along and thinking, yeah, I'm struggling with this too. So if you're listening and you feel like you're in the same boat, starting strong, but struggling to grow, you're definitely not alone. So I hope today's audit gave you some ideas for what's possible, even with limited time and energy. So Lori, before we go, where can people find On a Mission Momentum and connect with you further?
Well, they're going to find On a Mission Momentum on their favorite podcast platform, on Apple
Mhm.
Podcast or Spotify or wherever they listen to podcasts. In terms of like connecting with me and my work, they can go to www.onamissionbrands.com.
Amazing. I will make sure to link that in the show notes. And thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into Podcasting for Moms. I hope today's episode gave you the tools and inspiration you need to make your podcast work smarter, not harder. If you love what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It means the world and helps other moms in business find the show. For more tips, resources, and support, head to podcastingformoms.co. Remember, you're not just building a podcast, you're building your legacy. Until next time, friends.